Yeah.
Hey guys, I'm back today to bring you another movie review. There hasn't been one in a couple weeks or so, but I am here to talk about Ari Aster's latest, Beau Is Afraid, starring Joaquin Phoenix as well as many other ensemble players in this story of a very anxiety-ridden man slowly going on this odyssey and losing his mind. At least I think. Look, I've reviewed Midsommar before. If you've seen my review, you know I love it. You know I love Ari Aster. I think Hereditary and Midsommar are two of the best horror movies to come out in the past, 5 or some more years. And I think that he's clearly proven himself to be an auteur like no other. So I was beyond excited for this 3-hour horror comedy starring Joaquin Phoenix, and I knew that this was a big project for him. I've been hearing it's his most ambitious yet and his most divisive. And look, as you know, it was in my top 10 most anticipated films of 2023. So where do I fall on this movie? That's an interesting question. Yeah, look, it's definitely his worst film. I'll say that much. But look, there's a lot to really love about this movie. I especially think Joaquin Phoenix gives one of his absolute best performances. He's honestly Oscar-worthy in this, but considering how they shut out Toni Collette for Hereditary, which was even better, and there was more buzz around that, he's not going to get a nomination. But I really, truly think that his performance here is truly special. The way he captures anxiety, it's so heartbreaking. It's devastating to watch at points, and Joaquin brings everything he has to this film, and you gotta love it just for that. And then, of course, I love the first, I want to say, act of this movie, because I went into this movie kind of expecting it to be like this kind of surreal image of this guy's anxiety being projected. I know there's something Chris Stuckman was saying, and I think the first part of the movie completely nails that, and I was absolutely loving watching this film and all the bizarre and weird stuff that's going on, just kind of seen through the eyes of this anxiety-ridden man. I think that stuff was brilliant. It was obviously very audacious, a lot of the visuals, as you'd expect from Ari Aster, especially with this movie. And then I got to the middle of the film, and I won't say where, but even though the filmmaking is incredible throughout this entire thing, obviously that goes without saying. I'm pretty sure if you've seen any of Ari Aster's work beforehand, and the beautiful, beautiful animated sequence too, which I think is absolutely brilliant, the way they put that together. But I started to wonder, I was like, what does this have to do with the story at all? And why are we wasting time on this? And then the movie kept going on, and on, and on, and I just thought to myself, this is just pretentious nonsense. This literally, after a certain point, it has nothing to do with what was originally set up in the story. Yes, it does, but in a way that I don't think is very palpable. And I get it's supposed to be absurdist or whatever, and I feel like absurdist is a word that people throw out if something is just weird and it doesn't make sense. Now, at the same time, I think that there is absurdist content that is great, that does make sense, but this is not it. I understand that there's definitely the underlying themes of, him having terrible mommy issues and, kind of like the psychoanalyzation of that relationship. But all the bells and whistles and trappings that are put in between, though they may be shocking, though they may be unlike anything you've ever seen before, they don't add anything to the story, and it just ends up making it seem like, oh, let's just throw whatever we want on the screen, and not even think of, barely telling a compelling story. And that's how I felt about this movie. A lot of the stuff, I think, at the end was just plain stupid. I was like, there's no way. I was like, oh my goodness. Every time something happened, it just infuriated me, and I just wanted to leave. I wanted to leave. Because it's like, that's the thing, I don't mind. I probably wouldn't mind as much if this movie wasn't 3 hours. But it is 3 hours, and it did not need to be that long at all. I'm all for filmmakers having complete creative control over their work. Right? I mean, look at what happened with Citizen Kane. But Citizen Kane, this is not. And sometimes I understand why studios get involved and kind of interfere and like put a leash on them. Because it's stuff like this that makes you wonder, okay, like how would this movie had been if they had cut it down at all? You know what I mean? And they may have. They very well may have. But this is what happens when you get a director who's been making great work and they're finally like, alright, do whatever you want, and it just becomes very self-indulgent, very messy, very unfocused. And that was the thing that was great about Hereditary and Midsommar. It was very, very focused pieces of work that had thematic cohesion, and I don't think this film does at all. And I don't really care about it being like a structure we haven't seen before. That's completely cool. Like, he is obviously trying to push the boundaries with this film, and I'm sure I know people who love this, and I'm not surprised in a lot of ways, but at the same time, I mean, it comes nowhere near as close to the brilliance of his first two films. It just does not, because the brilliance is not there. Obviously, it's there in like vignettes and you know, segmented fractions of the movie. I also think other people, like Nathan Lane, is really great in this movie when he goes to this part with him and Amy Ryan. They're like a married couple, and they're kind of like watching Beau for a while. I think he's great. Like, there's definitely people and parts of this movie that really work at a very high level. I just think as a whole, it's just absolutely uncoherent nonsense. That just you're just watching a director kind of filter out his anxiety and just throw whatever he wants on the screen just because nobody's done it before. But I don't think that makes a good film. And I don't think Beau Is Afraid really is, even though the filmmaking is incredible here. And look, I'm going to say this just as a preface because I didn't enjoy this as much as Ant-Man and the Wasp. And obviously, what do I appreciate more? This, obviously. I'd rather take something like this that is beyond, you know, limitless and creative and all these things that we haven't seen before as some generic product that we're hassling out by a bunch of corporate overlords. But yeah, with that being said, I didn't enjoy it as much. It wasn't as a digestible experience, but I suppose that's how art is. If you know, look, people are going to enjoy this in a different way than perhaps I could even stomach. And while I don't think it's a very good movie, yeah, a lot of people are, but I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. This is definitely the most disappointing film I've seen all year. You know, you gotta respect Ari Aster for doing his thing, but at what cost? You know, all I ask is for a coherent story. Even if it is bizarre and wonky, I feel like he could have reeled it in a way and made it understandable, at least with some sort of thematic cohesion. But I just don't think it's there. I don't like movies that are weird for the sake of being weird, like David Lynch's Eraserhead. I just don't think that these movies really have much to say, even though they try to posit themselves as such. I just think that this film is nonsense, but there's a lot of great things to love about this movie. So I can't recommend this film, but if you love Ari Aster and you're going to check this out already, I would say check it out, and let me know what you think in the comments down below, what you thought of this movie. Do you agree with me it being a bunch of nonsense for nonsense sake, or do you actually find something in this and get something out of it? I would love to hear what you think. And of course, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. More movie reviews will be coming once things slow down, like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which is also one of my most anticipated films of the year, but I have a feeling this one won't disappoint. And yeah, so definitely stay on the lookout. We're going to be finishing out the Nathaniel Ahart & Company's Top 100 Greatest Films of All Time. Not sure when we're going to get the next episode, but it will be pretty soon. And until then, I will see you guys in the next video.